Ho, ho, ho. It's the end of year Christmas special.
More like a show ho ho.
Welcome to GCP Life, episode number 30, for Friday, the 23rd of December, 2022. GCP Life is sponsored by Kasna. At Kasna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, we find out that Google are not in trouble after all. Are the AI bots taking over the world? We take a look back at our 2022 shows, and we make our own predictions, just like an AI would. But before we get to any of that, I want to introduce the co-host of the show, Dave Wall. How you going, Dave?
I'm doing awesome, thanks, mate. I am looking at the clock. It's the last day for the year.
I know. I feel the same too. It's the last day. We're going to squeeze in this recording just to get it out for everyone.
Yeah, don't want to ruin everyone's Christmas break by not having the podcast. So
no, I've got to give everyone something to listen to. I'll get to work. Just on my days off, I'll do a little bit there and get it out on Friday. It won't be such a big
it's a
deal.
labour of love.
That's it. I love doing the show, getting it out for everyone. But we thought being the last show of the year and being close to Christmas, we'd do a little Christmas special. And
little present for all the good cloud engineers out there.
That's it. And we've been postulating all week, haven't we? It's like, what are we going to put in this show? We don't know what's going to go in it, and we think we've got something for you, something that'll be mildly entertaining anyway. But I want to actually encourage our listeners, and we'll get onto that a bit later, how many listeners we've got, and I'll give you some stats a bit later, but I just want to encourage everyone to, reach out to the show. What have you liked about the show during the year? What have you not liked? What do you want to hear more of? What do you want to hear less of? That kind of thing. I do the call to action at the end of every show. And so you'll know our email address and you know the ways to contact the show. So just let us know. Obviously, if you're internal to Kasna, you'll have our internal means of contacting me. But just reach out and let us know what you're liking about what we're doing at the moment, or not.
People just hate listening to us. Like, these guys,
these guys again. We do have a few listeners. We'll get on to that. But
angry engagement is still engagement.
Angry. No advertising or no marketing is bad marketing. Isn't it something like that? Even exactly. Bad marketing is good. Something like that along those lines. But other than work, Dave, you been up to anything tech-wise?
Not technology related at all. Well, I suppose it's technology adjacent. I'm tearing down my office because over the Christmas break I've got to paint it. It's been in dire need of some TLC for a while, but in my office was pretty well set up. All my monitors are mounted. I've got everything up off the desk as much as possible. So taking it all apart to get that room, it's a pain. It's only about half done. So
yeah. I got one of those big, they call it a producer workstation desk, and it's got 19-inch rack mount units and a shelf and all the rest of it on it. And it took me 2 days when I first put it together. Maybe in this room 10 years ago, it took me 2 days to cable it all in and set everything up. And it's starting, the whole setup's starting to get a bit dated, and I'm sort of dreading the idea of actually pulling it all out and redoing it all again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel your pain.
Are you going to take any time to work on your EATX motherboard project over Christmas?
Well, I have to, because I haven't soldered a single component yet.
You've 48 million soldering points that you have to do.
I know. I'm thinking about it, and it's I am procrastinating a little bit on that, because I know once I start, I want to just get it done. It's another labour of love.
Yeah, you're going to bolt the door to your studio there. So I'm not coming out until it's done.
That's it. Mad scientist. My hair will be really long and there'll be smoke coming out everywhere.
Yeah, you got tissue boxes on your feet and
not that crazy, bad, but anyway. Oh, look, anyway. All right, enough hilarity. Let's get on with the news items. The ACCC has dismissed a court case against Google.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What was this case about?
So back in July 2020, Google was taken to court for misleading customers in relation to privacy data. I think I vaguely remember something to do with it. It was to do with location data, and a pop-up would say, come up and say, "Do you wish to accept these new features?" And it would merge your location data with your profile.
Okay, yep.
And the court case was words to the effect of, this didn't give us adequate warning about what it was doing. The court, this is an article from the 9th of December from ACCC's press release. Meant that the internet tracking data had previously been kept separate from the user's Google account and was not linked to an individual user, was now linked to a user. Names and other identifying information.
So is this like the thing where sometimes you get like Google Maps will send you back like, hey, here's all the places that you traveled over the last 30 days.
Yeah, I think it was related to that. Yeah.
Right, okay. Which was very depressing during lockdown. It's like 30 days. I think I posted a screenshot on our internal chat. These are all the places I've been the last 3 days. And it was like one dot on my house. So this was the ACCC that took Google to the federal court, and the court found that the notification and the changes to the privacy policy were not misleading because Google sought the consent of account holders to implement the changes and only implement the steps with their informed consent. The court order also noticed that Google did not reduce the account holders' rights under the privacy policy. So that's fair enough. I mean, is this it seems frivolous. It really seems frivolous. I mean, you get this massive pop-up. They've got screenshots here in the press release of what the pop-up is saying, we're going to do this. We're going to merge all this data, blah, 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 blah. And then there's an I agree. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then more options. Now, if you don't agree, I assume a smart person would click the more options and opt out of whatever it is. How much more does Google need to do to avoid this kind of, in my opinion, frivolous case? Yeah,
so do we think that this was more just kind of fishing for a settlement sort of thing? Like, anytime Google does anything, you're going to have somebody's going to try and take them on, see if they can get a payday, right?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's the ACCC taking the case. Now, are they representing a
complaint from somebody else?
Yeah. I'm not clear. I don't know enough about the history of the case, but it goes back to July 2020. But I mean, Google, whoever, Amazon, Microsoft, whoever, I'm sure they're lawyered up with these kind of things these days. They are. And, it's all about butt covering at the end of the day. And this is, I mean, looking at these screenshots is clearly what they've done, and the courts upheld it. So, yeah, so another frivolous court case bites the dust. Update on that one. Another thing I was looking at during the week is ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's blowing up.
It is blowing up. Have you played with it yet?
I haven't, no. But I've been more interested in sort of following the whole AI art controversy stuff.
Yeah.
And alongside this, I'm seeing now even subreddits banning content that people are generating, titles using ChatGPT and content.
But how can they tell?
I don't know. That's the bit that's throwing me off. Is how are you banning this? Is there some sort of tag that?
Yeah, you go to ChatGPT, you generate your title, you copy the text, and you paste it in. How do they know that you didn't type it? Yeah,
it's just too good.
Just too good.
No Redditor type this out.
People write good stuff. They're called journalists. Remember those? Remember journalists back in the old day?
No.
And authors, you occasionally get good ones that write some good stuff that aren't AIs.
Yeah.
Anyway, this article goes on to say ChatGPT had over 1 million users within 5 days of its November release. The chatbot's ability prompted Gmail creator Paul, and I should know this name, Buchant, to predict that it will completely disrupt Google search within a year or two. I can see where he's going with that comment, but I don't think it'll completely disrupt it. I think Google search will always have a place. Former Google executive Sridhar Ramsaway said ChatGPT could disrupt Google's business model by preventing users from clicking on links that contain ads. Interesting. For context, advertising generated 81% of Google's parent company, Alphabet. That was 257.6 billion revenue in 2021. So yeah, if you haven't played with ChatGPT, just go and do it. I don't think it's any secret. I play in a band, and I've wanted to write a song for my band for a little while, and so I went and I said, lyrics for an 80s style rock song that talks about modern internet technologies, and it gave me some lyrics.
Amazing.
They weren't very good, but it did give me some lyrics.
Well, but at least it would have got you over the the whole blank sheet issue, right? Like, give me something and then I can iterate.
That's right. It gets you over that writer's block, and there may have been one or two gems in there that actually there were one or two lines in there that I've just added to my list of lyrics that I'm probably going to include in that song. But that's what it's good for, right? Doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, geez, how good would it have been back in like high school when you had to write a report or an essay on something, right? Like, give me the bones of something without me having to go and complete plagiarizing Wikipedia. I was going to plagiarize ChatGPT.
Yeah, this is the thing. The kids are using it at school, right? I mean, in the last 10 years, it's been Wikipedia, right? I mean, if you want to start with something, you go to Wikipedia, and it gives you some starting text and links out to other resources. But now you don't even need to do that. Just go to ChatGPT and it pulls it all up for you, right? But they're not saying it's all roses. Couple of little caveats in this article. Although chatbots could eventually be integral to search, don't expect ChatGPT to pose a threat to Google anytime soon, and I tend to agree with that. Google search is curated by people. I mean, there's algorithms there, and there's weighting on searches and things. So there is some value in people curating it in that sense. They also go on to say here, for starters, OpenAI which is the organisation running GPT, has been racking up eye-watering compute costs since it's released the system, which hasn't yet been monetized.
Yeah, I bet. I've absolutely no doubt.
Yeah.
And between that and not just ChatGPT, but the the diffusion based the art AI systems must just be consuming an enormous amount of compute.
Yeah. Yeah, until it gets more efficient, right? Like, I guess TPUs will start getting cheaper, and who knows how ARM and AI is going to play out. But yeah, and a point will come where we'll cross over some line and it becomes a lot cheaper, right? But we ain't there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I did see something the other day. It was more Google's response as to why they haven't released their own chat AI bot, and it was predominantly around these smaller sort of startups. They can sort of do things, they can take risks with their brand, but Google doesn't feel comfortable in making that kind of gamble. There was a scandal where Microsoft released a chatbot, and then within a day it was all
exploited.
Sorts of really awful things it was saying.
Yeah.
That tends to happen as soon as 4chan gets a hold of your AI. So I can understand Google's caution.
Yeah. Also, ChatGPT could be pulled from the internet while its creators figure out how to make it profitable, which could be a challenge considering its incorrect responses. But cool, it's really cool to go and have a play with, easy to sign up for, and just chuck in any text you want, and it gives you some sort of funny response. Great for overcoming writer's block. That's where I see the value. All right, I thought I'd run over a few stats for the show while we're here.
Great.
Yeah, just show's been going for a little over a year now. Of course, we had Ida on as our first co-host, and then Dave, you're now more or less a permanent part of the furnishings around here.
Yeah, you're stuck in here now.
Yeah, that's right. We've had several guest appearances and guest co-hosts over that 14 months or so. And look, we have a modest following on the various platforms. Look, when it comes to listenership and followers and likes and all that, I think if you're a content creator on the internet and you're going out and you're chasing the likes and the followers and the stardom, that's the wrong approach. Anyone that's in our audience that might want to start a YouTube channel or a podcast or something, a blog like or Twitch or something, don't go out with the intention of going, I'm going to get thousands of followers, because you're not, right? You're not going to. It will happen over time. It could take years and years and years and years, right? What you've got to be focused on is the content. You've got to be passionate about the content. You've got to try and produce the best content you can, and really show an interest and a love for it. That's what your driver behind the show should be. And
consistency, right? Like
consistency,
show up, do the, if you're on Twitch and you're going to have a regular schedule, actually be there. Right?
Yep. If you want to commit to that, then actually do it. That's right. And the followers will come. If you build it, they will come, right? Now, we've seen a steady increase across iTunes, Spotify, and Google podcasts. Because let's be honest, the other podcast platforms really don't matter in the scheme of things. Early on, I was really only tracking iTunes and Spotify, and more recently, I've been tracking Google Podcasts as well, which, we are a Google show, so I really should do that.
Yes, and thank you very much. I'm glad that my stat is being tracked.
Your stat is being tracked, yeah. And I really only started to pay an interest in this sort of halfway through this year as well. And back in August, we had 44 followers total across those three platforms. And as of today, we've got 99. So we've doubled the subscription rate in those, 4 months.
It's great. All right, we're about to break over the 100.
About to break over 100.
Maybe listening to the podcast this week, someone will.
Yeah, so on iTunes, we've got 26 followers. Spotify, we've got 56 followers. And on Android, we have 17. Now, there is a little asterisk on that Android one. There was a snafu earlier in the year, and I had to remove the feed in Android, which at the time we had 25 subscribers. Anyway, it was 25. It's gone. It's built back up to 17 now. So I had to remove it and then re-add it for reasons. But I'm pretty happy with that. Nearly 100 people out there listening. Of those 100 people, once again, I'll just say, send something into the shows. Tell us what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear, and we'll try and do that for you during 2023.
It's nice seeing it grow, though.
Yeah, it is. It is nice. It is a vindication in a way, I guess. Probably not the right word, but it's as long as it's growing, right? Like the actual number doesn't worry me so much, but we are seeing growth. So we're going to keep showing up here, and as long as you guys are loyal to us, we'll be loyal to you. Now that we know a bit more about who's listening, we're going to talk about some of our favourite moments during the year. And I know, Dave, you gravitated straight towards a particular moment when we talked about this.
Yeah. Definitely. We've had some great outtakes and stuff, and it's always a little bit of a surprise for me. When I listen back to the show, because you do all the editing. So, I just get to I turn up here and we have a bit of a chat and stuff, but then you do all the heavy lifting in the background. And so when I get to listen to it afterwards, I'm like, oh, what's that the cold open going to be at the start?
What's the cold opening going to be?
Which is always, it's a bit of,
and it's not
fun.
always easy to find that, right? Like sometimes I'll put it in and go, nah, that's no good, or ooh, yeah, that's a bit spicy. That shouldn't go in.
It's a family show.
It's a family show, yeah.
So yeah, I really love that. But there was an episode that I think it speaks to the dedication that you have in making sure that we keep to a schedule. And you had your big trip away, right?
I did,
you were going to be on the road for ages. And that like episode 18, when you did the recording in a tent in the rain in a campground, and we had the truck backing up.
So that truck, I found out what was going on there, and that they happened to have a wedding at that caravan park the following day, and the wedding was the son of the caravan park owner. And the truck that was backing in while we were recording was a mobile pizza joint.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
I think at the time I said, like, maybe it'll be like a brewery or something.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I postulated that it could be a mobile recording studio. That would have been great, because I'd gone everywhere. I'd gone all through town to the library and everything, and because it was raining, everywhere was packed solid. There was nowhere quiet in the pub. I thought, maybe the library has like a little media room or somewhere like that where I could just go and sit. Nah, there was about 10,000 kids in there because it was raining and it was school holidays, and it was just noisy as anything. Nowhere. I even went to the Banjo Patterson Museum, which is right there in Winton, and asked them, and they said, no, we don't have anything like that here. So, yeah, I was snookered. It's like, well, okay, I've got to sit in a rainy tent with trucks reversing and four-wheel drive spinning up the mud out in the...
Work to treat. Yeah, tethering off your 4G.
That's it, yeah. No, I'd been planning and thinking about that for a little while, and it was great. All the tech came together and managed to pull it off. And then, of course, I had to sit in the tent for about 2 hours doing the edit, with the headphones on. But yeah, I'd gladly do that again. Like, yeah, that remote working like that, and to be able to just, 10, 15 years ago, that would have been a struggle, right? But here we are. Yeah. We can do that easily now.
You were taking remote working to the nth degree, right? It was a remote.
It truly was. It truly was. I'd have to say one of my favourite moments was from episode 15 when Anthony McMahon first started up as the partner, Google Cloud Partners guy. And we did a little piece on him on the show, and we talked about him and found out all about him. Little background check on Anthony McMahon. Turns out he's a great guy. And yeah, when I posted on LinkedIn and tagged him, he responded and he told me he'd listened to the show. So that was really, really humbling to know that someone like Anthony had listened, and it was, we were on his radar.
No, that's really good. Maybe that's like, something I'm just sort of thinking out loud, but maybe sometimes, next year we can see about like pulling in, not necessarily Anthony, but just like maybe we can try and get some people from Google interview on the show, even if it's like product people, something like that would be pretty cool.
That would be cool, yeah. Or maybe even some of the engineers. Maybe I'm thinking one particular engineer that we're working with at the moment, perhaps even. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that'd be really good, actually. Some of the people who are at the coalface, not just product guys, but... Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I'm just going to take some notes and write this down.
Yeah,
okay. We'll get on a little bit later on some of our favourite stories that we covered during the year, but for now, we're going to take a look at our predictions. And funnily enough, just this morning, the Google Cloud blog released a blog which were the 10 IT predictions for 2023. I'll link this in the show notes. And the first thing I noticed about this list, yes, it's a list of 10. It contains 8 items. So, prediction number 1. 8 is the new 10.
8 is the new. We're going back. We're going an 8-based numerical system.
That's right. We're going to an octal system now.
Yep.
Yeah, everything's going to be octal-based. All right. That'll make things really easy.
None of this hexadecimal awfulness.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at this list. Because what we're going to do after this, Dave, we're going to tell everyone what our predictions are for 2023. So this list, I'll link in the show notes. They start with number 1. Starting with neuro-inclusive design will increase user adoption by 5 times in the first 2 years of production. Now, neuro-inclusive design. WTF? That's the first thing I thought. What is neuro-inclusive design?
So, I mean, my understanding is more like there are certain fonts which are much easier for people who are wired a little bit differently to read. Things that like help with, dyslexia. There's
this is all around accessibility.
I think so.
Right. Okay. Accessibility, I understand. Neuro-inclusive design was a new term to me.
I think there's also things about like, like certain people have like sensory issues and stuff. So you want to limit the amount of like motion and things that are on screen. But I think even including some of those things, like even if someone is I guess neurotypical, it's also more pleasant for them. Like right. Okay, so this is completely different. But like my local supermarket, they do a thing on like I think it's a Tuesday morning. They have like I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a low sensory time for shopping. And they turn the lights down slightly so they're not quite as bright, and there's no music playing, and it is the best time to shop.
Wow! Yeah. So all your focus can go onto the shopping.
Yeah, you don't have all the other stuff going around. It's just like it's a genuinely more pleasant time to shop.
Yeah, right. I guess all the staff are instructed to keep the conversation to a minimum as well. And
I guess so. Yeah. So it's anyway. There's one 1 hour window. It's the best time of the week.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I've got a UX complaint actually on Android, and it's not only Android. It's UX generally. This happens all the time. You know when you see something on the screen and your finger reaches to click it, and just as you're about to click it, something else pops up in the way and then you click the wrong thing?
Yes.
Happens to me all the time, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
Is it like it's like something's still loading but you're reacting faster, or?
I don't know. Like, on Android, you whip down the top screen and you go, oh, yeah, your appointment is when you're about to click it, and then boom, another thing comes along. You go, I didn't want to open that, right? It's got to stop, right? So dynamic UI elements, right? They've got to stop. It has to whatever's presented to me at the time, that's it. It's too late. You've had your chance to draw the screen. Do not draw the screen again while I'm looking at it. I'm serious.
React? No, thanks.
No. Okay, so any UI UX developers out there, that's something. If we could get a plugin or something that fixes that, I mean, I've got no idea when it comes to Android development, but something, please fix it. Right? Hate that. End rant.
Yeah, right. He's Banky being cantankerous about technology on our technology podcast.
All right, let's get on to number 2 because, number 1 didn't take long. All right, by 2025, 4 out of 5 enterprise developers will use some form of curated open source. Aren't we here already?
Well, I don't think so, but I do agree with this one, and I know we've touched on it a few times, and this is like one of my favorite things, like assured open source. Like I think there will be more services that are targeting that space, right? Anything that helps improve the software supply chain, I can see this being a big one, especially in enterprise.
So curated open source, this is, and I think you're going to touch on this later, this is the like assured open source and that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, or maybe what about the concept? And I'm sure this is a thing that already exists, but sort of open source within an enterprise. Does that kind of idea already exist? So if an enterprise has like a Git repo that's only like a big enterprise, I'm talking like big, like AT&T or someone like that, like they tend to release it. They might have some sort of code repo internally that everyone can contribute to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's where like the assured open source services come out from, right? That was where Google was doing this for themselves, where they would bring in packages from outside. They would security test them. Like these are the tools that they need and use, but they wanted to make sure that there was they wanted to break that chain of if somebody compromises GitHub credentials for the one developer who manages this critical thing, who's based
that tiny little leg and everything else is piled on top. The
based in Slovakia, and he's got to go to school. It's breaking that chain, that weakness in using open source. Right, we love open source, but we do need to be able to actually limit who can make something. Changes.
Yeah. Or he gets ticked off with the internet and pulls his whole repo.
Oh, yeah.
Takes everything down. That's happened more than once, yep.
As.
Yeah, okay. So number 3 on the list, and I like this one. AI will be the primary driver for moving to a 4-day work week.
So I'm passionate about the 4-day work week, right? This is something I'm actively trying to do. Depending on the organization, some places you're basically switching to part-time. There's lots of companies that are doing testing now to see about, doing not even a compressed week, just like reduced hours, same salary. Like it's becoming more and more common. It's been a long time since the 5-day work week was standardized, right? Like we've had this whole industrial revolution that came after that. Like we didn't change anything with
Henry Ford's got a lot to answer to.
Before that, dude, it was like a 6-day and a 7-day work week. So the 5-day was a vast improvement. But the entire like computer and internet age came through, and we didn't even address it. So I think now is the time, and I think that it's about time that people get some of their lives back. I know for a lot of people, remote working has been wonderful, but there's many people who then can't switch off without having that break in whether they're in the office or home. They need that need to bifurcate. So
if you and I are pretty fortunate. We've got separate workspaces from our living spaces, right? And that's really important to be able to disconnect from your working environment. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are trying to work remotely, and they're just setting up on the dining room table, and they've got all their workspace spread around everywhere. They can't even eat at the dining room table. That would be horrible.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. And then you'd finish work, but then you're in the kitchen. You're like, it's right there. Just you have to take it out of your brain sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got everything on our phones though anyway, right? But for me, I've been working remotely. I've been in operations and on call for like over 20 years. So I've learnt the skills and ability to be able to disconnect that, even though it is coming in on my phone. But if you weren't the kind of worker that had been exposed to that, then you may not have the mental agility to be able to do that. And given the fact that it happened so rapidly, it's just kind of overnight. Suddenly, all these people that were just used to working in an office are now working from their dining room tables.
Yeah,
that would be difficult. What was that book you were telling me about during the week? Where this is exactly what happened? Yeah.
So there's a short story called Manna by Michael Brain. I read it years ago, and it's but it's sort of it shows two different possible end states where AI kind of comes in and is used to sort of replace middle management, and in sort of, I don't want to give too much away, but it's like in one side of society, or I guess in one nation, all the benefits of that go to the people who own the companies, right? Like it all moves up. It's all just used, like anyone who actually does the work is kind of, it's a race to the bottom. and all the benefits go to the people who own the companies, own the AI. And then the sort of other way around is like where AI is being used for the betterment of everyone, right? Like it's any work that we no longer need to do, well, that's more free time or it's more resources for everybody and everybody's quality of life. So it's a really great short story. It doesn't take long. You can probably read it in about an hour. I'd firmly recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's interesting. It does dovetail into this point, right, where we're saying there's a potential there that in not only one day a week, but an entire class of jobs could be replaced.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we touched on that. Well, we didn't touch on it. We had a whole segment just a moment ago about ChatGPT, like seeing that not only can it be used for writing articles and stuff, but I've seen like code samples be generated out of there, right? Like,
yeah, well, that's exactly what GitHub Copilot does. Yep. It's, if you've ever used that, I used it during the trial, and I had it predict 6, 7, 8 lines of code, what I was about to type. I've got it in my head, right? Here we go. I'm about to type it out, and bang, suddenly it just appears in front of you. You go, that's almost exactly what I want, you know?
Yep.
It was amazing. Variable names and everything. So, yeah. I mean, it definitely could replace a lot. More than one day a week, potentially.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Number 4. By 2025, 90% of security operations workflows will be automated and managed as code.
Well,
once again, I'm seeing a trend here.
I think so. And I think it has to. Like we're moving into a post ClickOps world where people have to look in interfaces and stuff. It's
just a volume, right? It's just a numbers game, right?
Yeah. There's no way you can manually do it, even now.
Yeah.
I think that's more the point. Is like it's already too much to do it manually now, but not everyone has the tooling to have it fully automated.
Yeah, we need a better way. Yeah, and AI and automated workflows are going to be the way for sure. All right, so number 5, by 2025, over half of cloud infrastructure decisions will be automated by AI and ML. Now, this impacts us directly, Dave. Half. So if you're thinking of moving into an architecture role, you might want to think again. Yeah, half of cloud infrastructure decisions. So, you know, I immediately think of, and there's a multi-cloud item further down in this list, but I immediately think of the problem of multi-cloud, right? You've got the big 3, right? They all have different services. They all kind of do the same things, but they kind of don't, and they kind of cross over each other. What if you want to move from one cloud vendor to another cloud vendor, right? And you want to kind of be cloud agnostic. I actually see AI and ML, that kind of could be a perfect use case. It's like, well, I've got this design in Azure. I want to move that to Google Cloud. You have your AI bots run over it, and bang, it builds you your Terraform cloud that will build the same thing in Google.
You're like a comparative. Like,
comparative.
You're consuming this feature over here. Okay, well, you need this on the other side.
Yeah, or maybe it's 2 or 3 things you got to do the same sort of thing. You know, that could be the end game. That could be an end game of what's going to happen here with that. What about situations where you've got products that do similar things, but they're not quite the same? Like, I don't know, where would you use, and I'm not a data guy, I don't even play one on a podcast, but where would you use Bigtable over Cloud SQL? Now, I could probably give you a superficial answer to that, right? But when you get down to the guts of it, that's a decision an AI and ML could do for you. All right, number 6 on the list. By 2025, 90% of data will be actionable in real time using ML. 90%. So, are they saying all data? I'll read the actual blurb here.
Yeah.
Only 1/3 of all companies are actually able to realize tangible value from their data. But new tools and new approaches will open the floodgates to data-driven insights and innovation. That's from Arena Farouk, who's the Senior Director Product Manager of Smart Analytics. So, yeah, as we saw that thing from Aziza, was it last week?
Yep.
He was very keen on data and very keen on opening analytics. And, I mean, our own Lizzie had comments around that as well. Let's open it up, make it available to everyone.
Yeah, democratize it.
Democratize data. Yeah, that's what this is all about, isn't it? And it should be actionable in real time using ML. Oh, it's a lot of data. Number 7, multi-cloud technologies will make it possible to freely switch your primary cloud provider. Multi-cloud technologies. Imagine a Google provider that was a Terraform provider that was cloud agnostic.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why, though. I mean, yeah, okay. It's part of the reason why you use Terraform over CloudFormation or any of the particular platform-specific ones, because it does give you a measure of being able to reuse some of things. Yes, you do have to use different providers, but at least most of the structures of your projects can be kind of the same.
Yeah, if you're clever about how you separate your variables and sort of structure your code base, you could pretty easily, as long as it was a simple thing, you could pretty easily move from one
to the other,
sort of one compute type to the other compute type, for instance. Yeah.
I suppose that the tricky part is, you mentioned it just a moment ago, right? Like, not all the services are equal, and if you start trying to base everything based off like the most common denominator, you lose some of the really nice things of any individual platform. You kind of can end up in a situation where all I'm really using is like cloud storage and S3 and whatever the Azure one is, and I'm also using.
I've got everything on compute.
Yeah, and Compute Engine and EC2 and the Azure one. I'm terrible with the Azure product names. But if you're only using those, those are really basic systems, right? You're not getting BigQuery or PubSub or
Google front end, load balancing,
all the cool stuff. Yeah,
all the cool
shared
stuff.
VPCs.
Yep. Oh yeah, we love them shared VPCs. All right, and the last one, number 8 on our list of 10. Someone missed a memo. By 2025, 3 out of 4 developers will lead with sustainability as their primary development principle. We're seeing this more and more, right?
Yeah. And it's easy. It's getting easier to do it now. Like, you choose your right cloud provider. You can choose the regions that have the lowest consumption. It's becoming much simpler, and it's actually, from a cost perspective as well, is also getting cheaper to do it too. It's becoming cheaper to choose the right choice. Yeah,
it should be becoming cheaper. I mean, story literally on last night's news about the Australian energy prices at the moment. There seems to be a growing consensus that renewables will be cheaper once we get off fossil fuels.
Oh, for sure. You've got the build out, you got the capital side of things, which is always expensive, but then it just keeps generating. Right, you don't have to dig anything up, transport it here, put it on a conveyor, feed into the thing. Like,
that's right. Yeah, it's like moving to solid state drives, right? We've got solid state electricity generation. We don't need to invest any more besides a little bit of maintenance, of course. But
of course,
it's just
just continually. You have to maintain a power, like coal plants as well, right? So maintenance is there, but the fuel, the inputs are zero.
Yep. A bit of sun, that'll do it for you.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, off the back of that, we thought we'd give our own tech predictions. Now, we had a bit of a chuckle during the week, and we thought we'll give you a not so serious one and then a more serious one. So, Dave, if you want to kick things off,
yeah. All right. So, I think what's going to happen is that in the new year, Fresh off his victories at Twitter with being able to get everyone to like him, Musk is going to buy this podcast and shut it down. Because, but I mean, right now I haven't mentioned the location of where his jet is, so maybe I'll be okay.
Because we constantly bagging Twitter and Teslas. I mean, come on, Musk.
Yeah. So there's a strong possibility.
All right, cool. That's a funny one. Now, for your serious one, Dave, what do you got for me?
My gut feel is, at least for the next year or two, that the whole metaverse kind of hype is definitely going to go quiet, right? Not just Meta's one. I think in a very down market, there's less funding running around for these sorts of experiments. I think that, like, long term, like real long term, when we have like augmented reality glasses and immersive VR, I could see like a metaverse being an actual thing, like that. Ready Player One. I can see that happening in the distant future. I don't see it happening now.
Okay, I'm listening to what you're saying, right, but it's 3D television. That's what it is. It's 3D television.
Okay, so like I've played good VR and had that sense of presence, and you do feel like you're in it, and so that's where I can see like wanting to do it. But right now, who wants to be at work with like a headset strapped to your face? Like it's not. No, it's not
taking it on and off all the time. No.
Yeah. So I think that's going to go quiet for a while. I don't think it's going to die completely, but not expecting any big things until maybe the late 2020s.
We'll see. But you're right, it is going to go quiet for a while. I did hear whisperings that Meta's not going the way they intended. Probably a little bit too early. Yep.
That's that. It's not just the product; it's the timing as well.
Yeah,
it's a critical
timing
mass of other
and the
things.
Technology.
Yeah.
Now,
look. What's your funny one? Give me something from you.
I struggled to figure out something during the week. So, like anyone does when they have writer's block, I went to ChatGPT.
Nice.
and I of course I plugged into ChatGPT. What are the IT predictions for 2023?
Whoa.
And this is what ChatGPT told me. It is difficult to make specific predictions about the state of technology in 2023, as the field is constantly evolving and there are many variables that can impact its development. However, there are a few trends that are likely to continue or accelerate in the coming years. I'll put this in the show notes, I guess. There's a bit here, but it gave me a list of 5, a list of 5. And they're a little bit different to the list we went through just now, but artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence has been a theme, I think. Mm-hmm. We're going to see a lot happen in 2023 through to 2025. Internet of Things will continue to grow. Now, we haven't talked a lot about Internet of Things on the show, but everyone's phone's on the internet. Is that the Internet of Things?
No, it's more like sensors and smart lights, and it's little things.
Right. Smart fridges? Whatever happened to them?
Yeah. Well, I
know they exist. Number 3 on the list, adoption of cloud computing will continue to grow. Well,
no, but we don't need the cloud, remember?
It's someone else's computer. Yeah. Okay, well, sure. Yeah, if adoption of cloud computing will continue to grow, and we're seeing it day by day. Number 4, virtual and augmented reality technologies will likely become more widespread. Now, that's counter to the conversation that we kind of just had with applications areas such as gaming, education, and healthcare. Like, it'll grow, but I don't think it's going to take off, I don't think it's set to take off. It's not going to. We're not pushing over that edge there yet.
Yeah.
And number 5, the use of blockchain technology will continue to expand, with more businesses and organisations adopting it for a variety of applications. Yeah, once again, I think that's going to be a slow burn. I don't think there's going to be any sort of big iteration on that. It'll just be slow burn as things, people find use cases for it.
Yeah. That's until we get into another hype cycle again in a couple of years' time, and then everything will have to be blockchain again.
So, yeah, that's how you overcome writer's block. Now, it's funny, all of that discussion we just had about AI, that's only come about in the last couple of days. Now, I made a serious prediction, 2023 prediction, and I did it before we put any of that into the show. And my prediction for 2023 is that an AI-generated artwork will be sold as a genuine. Now, I'm thinking it'll either happen one of two ways. Either something will happen whereby there's somehow some lost Van Gogh piece of art will be found, or there'll be a mix-up, or there'll be some fraud done or something, but it'll be some piece of artwork that is AI-generated that'll be sold for millions of dollars, and the buyer will think that it's made by a human or it's genuine in some way. It's not AI. Because it's getting good. It is getting really good. Yeah.
But
I'll try and dig up a link and put something in the show notes, because I've seen a few articles floating around on it lately. So there you go. That's our predictions that's Google's predictions and myself and Dave's predictions for next year.
And ChatGPT's predictions as well.
And ChatGPT's predictions. I told you that'd be a funny one.
Yeah, we might just have to have ChatGPT on here as like the third co-host. We just throw to it every now and again.
Yeah. All right, and we thought we'd finish up the show with just a little bit of look back and highlights on a couple of stories that we've done during the year. And Dave, you pulled one up to my attention.
Yeah, so I mean, not to go like massively deep because we've actually touched on it a bunch already in today's episode, but I think the assured open source one has been one of like my favorite things. It was great seeing when it first sort of went to preview, and now not only have they started to sort of more bring that forward, they're promoting it more heavily, and the fact that they've built that whole software delivery shield system that's to help secure like the entire software supply chain of how where your developers where they're writing code, how they're running code, open source packages they're using. That's been like a cool one for me. It's just seeing how that's maturing as a service, and it's something that I certainly will be keeping my eye on next year.
Yeah, short open source looks like a really cool tool. I've got to go in and sort of get my hands dirty with that a little bit, but yeah, you're right. It could only help the adoption of open source, and organizations, enterprises have been really tenuous with their adoption with it for a long time, and they probably don't realize that they are using it more than they probably realize. But this will just surface it a little bit more for them,
definitely,
and give them a little more confidence to use something they may not have experimented with in the past, which ultimately will lead to a bit more innovation, which is what we want.
For sure.
All right. Well, I think my highlight of the year was episode number 20, the GCVE special.
Oh, that was a bumper one.
That was a bumper show. We broke down everything about GCVE. We had, let's pull up the old show notes here and just have a look. We had me, yourself, Ian, and we did a deep dive on all the aspects of GCVE and let you guys really know what the platform's all about. And we coupled that with Ian and myself giving a talk at the Google head office in Sydney at the Solution Series event there. And it was really quite fortuitous, actually, because straight off the back of this show, we more or less used what was in this show at that talk, and then we were able to direct the people at that talk to the show. Really, really quite serendipitous that it all worked out that way. And
I think the fact that, like, we're doing so much of GCVE now as well. So I could see us doing more presentations.
Yeah, well, think of how many features have been added since then. That was August 2022. I mean, we were what? Only 4 months ago.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of releases of a lot of things changing in the platform. It's maturing, really rapidly. A lot more things in the pipeline that I'm excited about too.
Absolutely, yeah. And off the back of this project we're on at the moment, we'll have exponentially more experience with it as well. So I'd dare to say I'd like to do another episode around GCVE sometime, during next year as well, and just talk about where we're at with it and how the platform's matured since then. Yeah,
I think that'd be a great idea. Yep. Especially if, we touched on earlier about, maybe getting one of their Google CEs on. Like, good show for it.
Yeah, we're in touch with a couple of those for sure, and I've got one in mind right now, one particular one that we could get on the show for sure. So that for me was a really good highlight, and I've got some things, bouncing around the back of my mind that will be great for 2023, and we should, by the end of the next year, we will have similar highlights as well, I'm sure, with a couple of the ideas that I've got. But I think that's about it, Dave. What do you reckon?
I think that'll do, mate.
Yep.
Just over an hour.
I know. And this will be the last show for the year. Like we said, we will return on Friday, the 13th of January, with our next show. Like I said at the top of the show, guys, send us an email, send us a contact, even use Twitter if you really have to. I will check it occasionally. Or go to iTunes, write a review for the show. It'll really help surface the show for other people. And the email address you can contact us on is gcplife@casna.com.au. The Twitter is @gcplife. We've got the website there. You can Google that and find us. And don't forget, today's show sponsor is Casna. At Casna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. That's about it for us for 2022.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a great break and safe.
Have a great break. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know. I don't know how to get into that.
No, I got nothing. Can we throw to ChatGPT to give me a response? ChatGPT, what do I do with dead air from my co-host?